Hello, I watched I Care a Lot, a 2020 satirical comedy, black comedy thriller starring Rosamund Pike, which I I was somewhat confused about because the movie opens with Rosamund Pike playing real piece of shit who uh, is a grifter, a con artist, a legal con artist who finds vulnerable old people who have enough money for her to prey on, gets herself declared their legal ward through crooked doctors who she gives a cut, and abducts them, puts them in care homes, and takes apart all their belongings, their all their goods, all their houses and everything like that. Sells it off and makes a tidy profit from it. So you kind of start off and we start off with like a a son of one of these of one of these poor fucking unfortunate victims, um, you know, trying to burst into a care home, that not working, ending up in court, getting denied, and basically, yeah, you're never going to see your mother alive ever again. So you kind of start off the movie going, well, I hope she dies. I hope she really dies. And then she preys on Diane Weist's character, and yes, does it over again, but this time there's a connection to Peter Dinklage's mob Russian mob guy, and you think, it's going to go badly for her, but suddenly we are in her life, her and her lesbian lover, and there seems to be a couple of reoccurring things here of like, it's like, oh well, you only the son was only upset about me putting your mother away because I have a vagina, and there's a lawyer later on who's like, oh, a she doctor, when he was referring to the crooked piece of shit doctor who helped her imprison Peter, the Diane Weiss character. And so it's like it's all this weird stuff, and then it's like, yes, lesbian love, and we love each other, and we have sexy scenes. This is all written and directed by a dude, and you just kind of, I'm sitting there fairly dead to it because uh, you know, Rosalind Pike is, she is playing very kind of icy cold, snappy, but I hated her from right from the beginning. And yes, Peter Dinklage's character is also probably a piece of shit, but they're both pieces of shit, and you kind of just hope that at this point that no, I just want her to die, and I don't care now. And I'm kind of confused about like, where's the black comedy? Where's the satire of this? But that only happens, I would argue, right at the end of the movie, where suddenly criminals go, "Oh, game recognizes game. Let's get into this business together. We can make bazillions." And it's like very briefly it does, and then we suddenly slam back to what an event that could have happened right outside the courthouse at the very beginning of this movie and would have saved us all the trouble. I mean, it's a fascinating failure on my what I would think on my part. I mean, I think they might be going for something like the Talented Mr. Ripley, or something like that, where you get somehow inside of or invested in the psychology of somebody trying to get to do things and get away with stuff. But it's like, I never want her to get away with stuff. She becomes kind of ridiculously overpowered and able to do, pull off stuff against armed goons who, of course, are written in such a way that they're not competent. They're not like, oh, we'll just do this, and this, and you're done. It's like, no, they're suddenly incompetent because we need to let her go. Um, yeah, yeah. It fell flat for me. Critics were kind of, there were positive to mixed on it. The people felt like it was funny all the way through. It was very kind of razor sharp satire against late stage capitalism. I didn't get that in a lot of ways. There's enough grounded stuff at the beginning that I just thought, well, there's a version of this not Hollywoodized that actually happens, which is appalling. Um, and it put out weird mixed messages of like, are we supposed to care? There are points where you think the movie thinks we've got you to be invested in Pike's character. It's like I never was. Some ways I wondered, like, she's great at playing the Ice Queen, but she's never, especially an English actress doing that kind of fake American accent, which clangs. It's like I always think it's like if you'd had somebody who was more screen charisma, charming in the role, not so hateable, it would have worked. I mean, she's really good. Like, she's really good in Gone Girl, which I think that's where she's supposed to be doing that. But there's weird things here of like, is this an anti-feminist film? Is this a evil lesbian film? It's just like all these kind of weird kind of almost like arch conservative things, which I don't think the film is trying to point out, but it feels like it in a way. It's just like, okay, yeah. So those are my thoughts on I Care a Lot. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting when a movie just doesn't work for you. Where it did work for some people, but definitely not for me. And I mean, this movie I don't think went anywhere. So not for many other people. Though, to be fair, it got released in the pandemic, so a lot of things didn't go anywhere. So maybe it's a hidden classic that people will discover later, and I'll suddenly get on its wavelength. But I was not on its wavelength this time around. All really great actors, though. Really, really enjoyed the actors. I just thought the tone, the mood, just never really caught off. Never, like you know, I think about like Strangers on a Train, where because like someone was comparing this to Hitchcock. Strangers on a Train, where it's like it's two criminals who have murders that they want to swap, and like, oh, will they get it? Will they do it? It's like, and you start caring about it. But it's funny, this movie, it was just like right from the beginning, I just want this. I never care about this person. I never care. I never invested. I'm just like, I think that's the worst. The cardinal sin of the movie was I wasn't invested. I wasn't like on the edge of my seat. It was just like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And a very kind of matter of fact, I'm just like, let's see where they're going, because we're just running out the movie. But I wasn't gripped. I wasn't like, oh, invested at all. And I don't have to like the characters to be invested, as for example, Strangers on a Train. So yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.